Well, a very good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking at this hour.
The Prime Minister wants India's presidency, as he's written in today's editorial in most papers, to be very action-oriented. He wants it to be very ambitious. He wants it to be very decisive.
India formally takes over the G20 presidency. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for a shift in fundamental mindset to benefit humanity as a whole. India will host as many as 200 meetings across 50 cities over the next 1 year. The first one will be held in Udaipur later this week. Sensex hits a record high for the 6th consecutive session, but profit booking in late trade wipes out some gains. IT stocks lead the rally. Car sales improve in November, but two-wheeler sales remain muted. Bajaj Auto and TVS see a drop in exports. Tractors and commercial vehicle sales see healthy growth. At 1.45 lakh crore rupees, GST collections in November are 11% higher than a year ago, but still at a 3-month low in 8 months of this financial year. The government has collected 80% of the total GST collected in FY22. Oil PSUs will seek over 22,000 crore rupees as losses accumulate. Sources say that the government will look at available options, but there is limited headroom for relief. Petrol and diesel prices have been on a freeze since 6th of April. IT Ministry sources tell us that the framing of the Digital India Bill draft is in its final stages. It is likely to be placed in public domain before the end of the year. The bill will subsume the existing Information Technology Act, may seek accountability from social media companies for algorithms deployed. We told you first in August and now it's official. The Finance Ministry proposes a one composite license for life, health and general insurance. The top insurance regulator, Debashish Panda, recently told CNBC-TV18 he was in favour of such a composite license. The world's richest man appears to have buried the hatchet with the world's richest company, at least for now. Elon Musk meets Tim Cook at Apple's headquarters. Musk says the meeting resolved the misunderstanding about Twitter, and Apple never considered removing Twitter from the App Store.
I didn't ever try to commit fraud on anyone. I was excited about the prospects of FTX a month ago. I saw it as a thriving, growing business. I was shocked by what happened this month.
I screwed up, says Sam Bankman. Freed the founder of now bankrupt crypto exchange FTX. Also adds that he didn't try to commit fraud. Denies allegations that he has hidden funds and claims that he has only about $100,000 left in his bank account. First phase of voting takes place in Gujarat. 89 seats across 19 districts in Saurashtra, Kutch and southern Gujarat were in the fray. The Aam Aadmi Party is looking to make inroads in what was traditionally a two-horse race between the BJP and the Congress. There were long queues at the Mumbai International Airport after a temporary network interruption resulting from a cable cut during some construction work in the city. The airport authority said all systems are now restored and working. Nine days after the cyber attack on AIIMS, the servers are still not online and hospital is still having a tough time keeping with the patient traffic. A special report is coming up. Well, there's no stopping the bulls now. Sensex, Nifty and Nifty Bank scale new peaks to hit a record high in intraday trade. However, some profit booking saw the indices end the day off these highs. IT stocks, meanwhile, led the rally on the Lal Street, with that index gaining over 2%, but it was a bumpy ride for the auto companies. Well, India has formally taken presidency of the G20 summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stressed that the universal sense of oneness will guide India at the G20, a bloc of the world's richest economies, for the next 1 year. Now, India will be holding around 200 events across 55 cities during its tenure. The first one will be held in Udaipur later this week. Parishit Luthra now joins us with India's key focus and priorities for the G20 summit.
India has taken over the G20 presidency at a time of geopolitical tensions and questions over food and energy security. India has planned over 200 meetings across 55 cities, and not just metros. You will see meetings taking place in Kohima, Rann of Kutch, Khajuraho, Hampi, and even places in Jammu and Kashmir. The focus will be on promoting brand India to the world. Every G20 meeting will end with a cultural event particular to that state. We will also see side meetings such as the Business 20, Think 20, Startup 20 during the course of India's G20 presidency. This will all culminate in a leaders' meeting in September 2023 in New Delhi. What will India be showcasing to the world? India's digital infrastructure as a tool of inclusive growth, a battle against COVID-19 and a successful vaccination program, and strong economic potential as one of the fastest growing economies in the world. The Prime Minister has also set the tone for the G20 presidency. He said, "One Earth, one family, one future" will be India's guiding principle during the G20. We cannot be trapped in a zero-sum game as when countries fight over territory and resources. Challenges like climate change, terrorism, pandemics, he said, cannot be resolved by fighting. G20 priorities to be shaped in consultation with G20 nations and also members of the Global South whose voices are often unheard. Outlining the key priorities, the Prime Minister said that we will be focusing on sustainable and environmental friendly lifestyles, depoliticization of supply chains of food, fertilizer and energy so that geopolitical tensions don't cause humanitarian issues. And we must have honest conversations on risks from weapons of mass destruction.
There, the Prime Minister has spelled out in his editorial what India's priorities would be. One is that whether, at this particular moment, there's a looming crisis of slowdown of growth all across the world. And this is essentially an economic grouping. So how do we accelerate the pace of inclusive, resilient, sustainable growth will be a key challenge before the leaders of the world. The second key challenge to my mind will be that vast segments of the population have been impacted by education, health, due to post-COVID era, the sustainable development goals. We will be midway through the 2030 action plan. Instead of progressing, we have actually regressed. And therefore, how do you accelerate the pace of this lifting people above the poverty line will be a central issue. Thirdly, I think to my mind, if you want to lift people above the poverty line, if you want to make a big difference, then you have to use technology to leapfrog. Fourthly, I think the Prime Minister is very clear that health, India has a unique model. India is the pharmacy of the world. India is the vaccine capital of the world. It has provided vaccines through Vaccine Maitri. So how do we accelerate the Indian model, which is integrated? And lastly, the PM has emphasized in his Bali speech very strongly that women constitute more than 50% of India's population, and so in the world as well. So if how do you can't grow at rapid pace till women-led development, and he's used the word women-led development, and therefore how do you bring in greater level of leadership? How do you bring in greater financial inclusion?
Well, you can catch that entire conversation with Amitabh Kant, India's G20 Sherpa, at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. Well, here's some macro data. Auto sales have thrown up a mixed bag in November. Sales of cars, tractors and commercial vehicles have seen a healthy growth, but two-wheelers continue to struggle. TVS and Bajaj Auto see a drop in exports. India has mopped up a little over 1.45 lakh crore rupees in goods and services tax in November. While that's an 11% rise over the year-ago number, it's still a 3-month low. And with this, the total GST collections during the festive season between August and November this year stands at 5.88 lakh crore rupees. That's 20% higher than the total collections clocked over the same period last year. However, it should be noted that the November number reflects business activity in October and includes sales receipts through key festivals of Diwali, Dussehra, Bhai Dooj and Chhath Puja. In that context, a dip in monthly collections is being seen as a cause for concern. Government-owned oil companies will seek over 22,000 crore rupees as relief as losses accumulate. Petrol and diesel prices have been on a freeze since 6th of April. Government sources tell CNBC-TV18 there is limited headroom for relief, but adds that the centre would be looking into their demands. The government has cut the windfall tax on crude oil by nearly half from 9,500 rupees per tonne. The tax has now been slashed to 4,900 rupees. The tax on export of diesel has also been cut by nearly 40% from more than 10 rupees a litre. The tax has now been cut to just over 6 rupees a litre. IT Ministry sources said that the framing of Digital India Bill draft is in its final stages. It is likely to be placed in the public domain before the end of the year. The bill will subsume the existing Information Technology Act and may seek accountability from social media companies for algorithms deployed. We told you first in August, and it's now official. The Finance Ministry proposes a one composite license for life, health and general insurance. Now, the top insurance regulator, Debashish Panda, recently told CNBC-TV18 he was in favour of such a composite license.
The headline is about, lowering of the capital so that smaller players could come, value-added services, one-time registration.
On composite?
I clearly don't remember. Probably yes.
SoftBank is likely to sell a 5% stake in PB Fintech. That's the parent company of Policy Bazaar tomorrow. Our sources say SoftBank selling more than 2 crore shares at 440 rupees per share. This is a 5% discount to the current market price. SoftBank is not completely exiting the company, however. It is expected to hold a 5% stake after this share sale. The government is planning to exit NMDC steel plant Nagarna via strategic sale. It has invited expressions of interest to sell over 50% stake. The remaining stake will be offered to NMDC via a bidding process. Sapna Das gets us more details. Sapna, tell us, what are you picking up?
Well, this is definitely an important development for the steel sector as a whole, and particularly for the Chhattisgarh economy. Nagarna, now, of course, called NMDC, Steel Limited, is placed there, and it'll have its own traction once the process of disinvestment starts rolling. So first, of course, the EOIs are being invited. Basically, government will offload close to 51% stake that it holds in NMDC Steel. This is, of course, this company has been formed after the demerger from NMDC itself, earlier known as Nagarna, now known as NMDC Steel. So of course, this up to 51% offloading of stake will be done along with management control. So it's a privatization move, a big move for the steel sector on part of the government. That's one. Second, to maintain the capex cycle in the sense that the new bidders will come. Obviously, they'll put in more money in the company. But NMDC is also very important in the scheme of things. Hence, the residual 10% stake that the government holds in NMDC Steel will be offered to NMDC, of course, via a bidding process. So, this is an important move, as I'm just saying, for the entire steel sector. But in terms of, what are the timelines, when is it going to happen, when are the bids going to come in, when will the financial bids happen, how soon the sale process will go ahead. Well, all of this will easily take at least 7 to 8 months. That's the normal process for disinvestment. So you have to keep a watch on that. But yes, the government has fired the first shot in inviting the EOIs who are completely exiting NMDC Steel.
Right, so an important news break there. Thanks a lot, Sapna, for those updates. With that, let's slip into a very short break. Up next on the other side, 9 days since the cyber attack on AIIMS, the servers are still not online. How is the hospital managing patient traffic? A special report when we come back. Welcome back. Now, it's been 9 days since AIIMS Delhi came under a cyber attack that shut out the administration from all online databases. Now, the situation is slowly limping back to normal, but the administration has had a tough time keeping up with the patient traffic. CNBC-TV18's Abhimanyu Sharma reports on the status of the hospital's online infrastructure, even as a multi-agency probe is underway.
For the last 9 days, patients have been struggling to get medical aid at AIIMS Delhi, and doctors, nurses and hospital support staff have been pushed to the brink. all because the hospital's servers fell prey to a cyber attack that denied officials access to online databases and services. The attack, the hospital says, is over, but getting back to the old rhythm is proving difficult. The AIIMS administration has said that the e-hospital data is being restored onto the servers and the network is being sanitized before the services are restored. The process is taking time due to a huge amount of data which is involved and a huge number of servers and computers which are looking after various hospital services, including OPD, inpatient services and laboratory services which are currently being operated in the manual mode. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that online services at AIIMS will normalize by the 6th of December. The administration has suspended 2 data analysts following the data breach and says it is taking every necessary precaution to ensure such an attack is prevented in future. The case is under probe by the Intelligence Fusion and Strategic Operations Unit of the Delhi Police. Network 18 had reported that officials from the Ministries of Home, External Affairs and Electronics and IT Ministries have also been roped in, apart from agencies like the NIA, CBI and IB. But for patients, the slow restoration of services is taking a toll.
साइबर की वजह से परेशानी हो रही है हमें। आज ज़बरदस्ती अंदर गया तो उन्होंने ये लिख दिया कि आप बृहस्पतिवार और शनिवार को आओ। वेटिंग तो साहब जो है 2 महीने का तो मुझे जो है घुटनों में दे रखा है घरवाली को।
फोन लगा के परेशान हो गए, कोई मतलब समस्या का समाधान नहीं हो पा रहा है। अब ये बोला गया है कि अगले शनिवार को आना।
बार बार ये कहते हैं जाइए, काउंटर नंबर 50 पे लगा हुआ सर्वर डाउन है और राजकुमारी ओपीडी के लिए लिख देते हैं। राजकुमारी ओपीडी जाते हैं स्मार्ट लैब पे, स्मार्ट लैब वाले ये कहते हैं 14 तारीख से पहले की कोई भी रिपोर्ट नहीं है। 3 दिनों को लगातार जाते हुए मुझे काउंटर नंबर 50 पे लिखा हुआ सर्वर डाउन, कोई रिपोर्ट नहीं मिल रही है। डेली यही कह देते हैं 1-2 दिन, लेकिन ये हमें जो है चक्कर लगाते 6-7 दिन हो चुके हैं। अब
घूम के जा रहे हैं, किसी रोज ओपीडी मिलता है, किसी रोज नहीं मिल रहा है ओपीडी, मगर आज मिला है तो सिटी होने वाला है 5 दिसंबर का डेट थी।
सारा कुछ नेट पे देख के ही एंट्री होती है हर चीज़ की, कोई भी पर्चा या जो भी है। मैं तो कहता हूँ कोई गरीब आदमी की हत्या ना हो इस चक्कर में।
Despite mitigation efforts by the AIIMS administration, manual management of servers is leading to undesired hardship and confusion for patients as well as their attendants. It remains to be seen how early the e-hospital services will resume and what additional efforts will be made by the administration to clear the recent backlog of medical cases. In Delhi with video journalist Balbir, this is Abhimanyu Sharma for CNBC TV18.
Well, there were long queues at the Mumbai International Airport after a temporary network interruption resulting from a cable cut during some construction work in the city. Now, the airport authority has said that all systems are now restored and working. International news: China has eased more COVID restrictions amid nationwide protests. Vice Premier has signaled a softer stance, adding that China is facing a new situation and that the Omicron variant is weaker than previous ones. Twitter owner Elon Musk seems to have buried the hatchet with Apple CEO Tim Cook, at least for now. Musk met Tim Cook at Apple's headquarters. Musk said that the meeting resolved the misunderstanding about Twitter and Apple never considered removing Twitter from the App Store. I did not commit fraud and was excited about the prospects of FTX a month ago. That's the word coming in from former CEO of crypto exchange FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried. Speaking to CNBC, Bankman-Fried clarified that he had nothing to do with commingling of FTX funds and claims that he only has about $100,000 left in his bank account. Let's listen in to that conversation.
I didn't ever try to commit fraud on anyone. I was excited about the prospects of FTX a month ago. I saw it as a thriving, growing business. I was shocked by what happened this month. And, you know, reconstructing it, were there things I wish I had done differently?
Was there commingling of funds? That's what it appears like. It appears like there's been a genuine commingling of the funds that are of FTX customers that were not supposed to be commingled with your separate firm.
I didn't knowingly commingle funds. And again, one piece of this, you have the margin trading. You have, you know, customers borrowing from each other. Alameda is one of those. I was frankly surprised by how big Alameda's position was, which points to another failure of oversight on my part, and failure to appoint someone to be chiefly in charge of that. But I wasn't trying to commingle funds.
Back home, 1 month after launching a pilot project for the wholesale segment, RBI begins the digital rupee pilot for retail segment. Now, the testing kicks off across 4 cities with 4 banks. More banks and locations will be included in the coming weeks. Lata Venkatesh brings us this ground report.
The Reserve Bank of India today became one of the first central banks to launch a digital currency for retail use. The pilot has been launched in 4 cities, Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru and Bhubaneswar, and involves only 4 banks, State Bank, ICICI, Yes and IDFC. In preparation for this, these banks have already sent emails to a few chosen customers and merchants.
बताइए आपको बैंक ने कुछ ईमेल भेजा पहले?
यस, मुझे ईमेल भेजा और मेरे रजिस्टर मोबाइल नंबर पे SMS भी आया और उसमें लिंक है, वो लिंक को आपको क्लिक करना है और आप गो थ्रू जाएंगे तो उसमें सब स्टेप्स भी लिखे हुए हैं कि डाउनलोड करके आपको क्या करना है. तो जस्ट आई क्लिक ऑन डाउनलोड. मैंने डाउनलोड किया. फिर उसमें एक सिम वेरिफिकेशन आता है, जो आपका रजिस्टर मोबाइल नंबर है वो सिम के साथ सिंक्रोनाइज है कि नहीं, वो एक वेरिफिकेशन होता है और एक वॉलेट जनरेट होता है और वॉलेट के लिए भी पिन जनरेट करना रहता है. तो वो मैंने पिन जनरेट किया और वॉलेट क्रिएट हो गया. सो इट इज़ वेरी इजी to use and there is no difficulty to download anything.
Did you transfer money from your savings account to the wallet?
Yes. जो मेरा सिम नंबर है उसके साथ जो रजिस्टर मेरा अकाउंट नंबर है उससे मैं आसानी से उसमें ट्रांसफ़र कर सकती हूँ. अभी मैंने एक चाय वाले के साथ जिसके पास QR नंबर है ये IDFC का, तो उसके साथ मैंने ट्रांजैक्शन किया और एक मेरे फैमिली फ्रेंड है उसके साथ भी मैंने ट्रांजैक्शन करके देखा तो इट वर्क्स.
While customers have to download e-wallets, merchants are connected through a QR code at their locations.
अभी फिलहाल 10-12 लोग किया है और ये जो ट्रांजैक्शन हम लोग को कल आज 12 बजे के बाद मिल जाएगा, कल मेरा अकाउंट में आ जाएगा. तो डिजिटल करेंसी का इसमें ट्रांसफर होके और मेरे अकाउंट में आ जाएगा.
The pilot is meant to test the system for glitches and will soon be extended to 4 more banks, HDFC, Kotak, Bank of Baroda and Union Bank, and also to 9 more cities. It remains to be seen if the distributed ledger technology on which the e-rupee is based can handle large volumes if large sections of the population were to use the digital rupee. The e-rupee is almost as comfortable as Google Pay, does the same things. So will the population shift? Of course, the advantage is that transactions of the e-rupee can be more anonymous, almost as anonymous as cash. The government can give it a push by distributing subsidies, say, through the e-rupee. For the moment, you will have to say that the digital rupee is a feather in the cap for India and for the Reserve Bank. In Mumbai, Lata Venkatesh.
Well, IKEA stores in Delhi are expected to open by 2025. That's the word coming in from Toga Onku, the head of retail operations for IKEA's parent company, Inca Group. Now, in conversation with Shilpa Rani Peta, he also spoke about further investments in the country.
When it comes to Delhi, New Delhi, our progression is doing fine. The team is doing an incredible work. We just had a groundbreaking ceremony with our center's friends. And as it looks now, we are hoping to be ready to open up by 2025. And it will be one of the biggest in the world.
Now, if I'm to talk about IKEA India overall in FY22, which is the fiscal gone by, it reported a loss of about 900 crore rupees. Now, I understand there were very high expenses with respect to the opening of the city stores, the prep for the Bengaluru store. But by when do you think you'll be able to make India as a market a profitable business?
With India, the question for us is more how do we expand in a very effective, efficient way to reach as many people as possible in India, which is our main target. Rather than looking at the the profit and loss at this stage of IKEA's development in India.
No, so beyond what you've already invested, can we expect more investments in the India market? Also, newer markets. Which newer markets are you eyeing now after Delhi?
Most likely, yes, you will, since the opportunity is very big in India, and there is a lot of people that we believe we can be part of creating a better everyday life for. So the next area we are looking at would then be Chennai and Pune.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates continue right here on CNBC TV 18.